Chapter 4. Taylor. Never in my life had I planned on being on my knees in front of Chad with him glaring down at me after telling me about his life, because he'd gotten drunk off a large bottle of wine within an hour. His words were slurring, and I could see his eyes were having a hard time focusing on me, but he knew I was at his feet, and he knew what was going to happen next. He tightened his hands on the chair and closed his eyes. "Do you want me to go further? Tell me now or forever hold your peace." He smiled, opened his eyes and said, "It's not like we're getting married. I'm experimenting, besides you seem to know what I need." "I know exactly what you need," I admitted, meeting his gaze. "You need someone to love your body as it is, and appreciate you." I rubbed my palms along his thighs, up and down relaxing him, and I felt his skin and his clean scent with a tinge of wine from my drinking filled the air. When I glanced up, he had his eyes closed once more, his head resting back, his fists clutching a swath of my hair. I leaned forward and heard a sigh and release. "Relax, and don't tighten those magnificent muscles. Is that all you wear under those tight jeans?" "Yes. Maybe that's why my ass looks so round." I chuckled, then I turned and twerked my ass, held my hands extending my arms over my head and began dancing for him. "You know I could have gotten a job as a dancer, and then you would have had to pay for this." Chad smiled and said, "You would have been well worth every dollar." "Oh baby, it would have cost you more than $1, I purred and patted my ass. "If I wasn't drunk and I had my legs, I'd pick you up and give you a good fucking, one you'd never forget." "I'm not drunk, and I have a pair of legs. What do you say if I challenge you to put up, or shut up?" "I dare you," I said. "Remember, I said I was drunk." "That's not an excuse. From what I see, drinking did nothing to you. I said I don't have legs or I'd take your challenge." "You have balls and a cock, don't you? Let's see if you're up to the task, Lieutenant." I saluted, reached for his wheelchair, and pushed his handsome ass over to the bed, pulled out the drawer from the nightstand, held up a condom and a bottle of lube. "I wonder who thought of this," I said with a chuckle. Chad transitioned from the wheelchair to the bed as I lay on my back, opened my legs, raised my arms over my head. "What are you going to do, Lieutenant? Are you going to spend your life watching, or are you going to be a participant? It really is better with two people." I was hard and needed a release, because I hadn't had sex with anyone since I didn't know when. With studies and working with and for Chad Holt at Wounded Inked, I'd have to pay someone to fuck me, and that wasn't happening since I was broke, and I wanted more with someone than a night out. "Come on, Chad, there's a gay man wanting to give you his body. Are you going to pass up this opportunity to have a second orgasm, but this time inside me, feeling my heart beat against yours? You may never get that chance again. Come on, Lieutenant, get your handsome self over here, and let's see what you've got." "I don't have to prove anything." Chad glanced over at me with my one hand stroking the position. "Lieutenant, assume it." "How did you get so bossy?" "Born like that, I guess," I stated. "And was your body always this soft and smooth?" Chad said, wrapping his hands around my thigh. "Enjoying yourself?" I questioned, trying to get a feel of what was going on in his head, because his body told a story I hadn't planned on. I wondered if I'd gone too far. Had I intentionally, or unintentionally, opened up a can of worms, as my father would say? Was that what I saw in his gorgeous green eyes, the possibilities of a relationship with a man I might have to devote a lot of time to beyond work? All of a sudden, there was an interest in this gay man. I didn't know if I could handle a relationship with Chad this time. I just wanted to speed fuck and move on. Besides, there was no way in hell the Lieutenant and I would make it. He seemed needy, but he wasn't. I appeared independent, but I wasn't. I had inadvertently put myself in a corner that I couldn't get out of without hurting someone, and hopefully it wouldn't be me. I couldn't take any drama with all the studying and working with disabled veterans. I had painted myself into this corner, and I had no one to blame but myself if this went south. Parker had told me some of Chad's stories, but now I had to face the idea that I could have a relationship with this man beyond these days and this ranch. Was I ready to take on a disabled veteran with lots of issues? Just listening to the vet's stories at Wounded Inked had me most times in tears, and then laughing the rest of the time when they told stories about their cats and dogs. One vet related how a burglar opened the door to his new home, and his pit bull hid under the bed. The vet had everyone falling down laughing about him trying to coax his dog out, when the guy left after discovering there wasn't anything for him. He'd recognized the guy, but in Nevermore, everyone knew the resident thief and would leave their doors open and old things out for him, but since the vet had been new to Nevermore, he hadn't subscribed to the local papers, so he wasn't aware that the people did that sort of thing in these times of uncertainty. Glancing up at Chad with his hungry eyes and body, looking for something from me, what I couldn't imagine, I didn't feel prepared to cultivate a relationship with him. So why the fuck did I do this? All I could say was it felt good at the moment, but I was sure that wouldn't be enough of an excuse. Chad leaned down. I don't want just a friendship with you. I want more. Only if you want that too. His breathing became intense as he said, yes. More. I want you to live with me, if that's possible, because your body is outstanding, and I've had women that can't touch how I feel inside you, and you know how to keep me under control, he said, breathing hard against my lips. Did you mean it when you said that you wanted me to stay with you? I asked, turning in the small bed, focusing on Chad's eyes, which were soft now that he had released the pent-up energy he had been harboring, because he hadn't had a sexual relationship in months. Jerking off wasn't a healthy alternative for him or me, maybe not for any man. There had to be the ability to feel another person, a warm body next to you, and I suspected that Chad hadn't had that in a long time. He had an excuse, I had none, other than I didn't want to fuck just any man who approached me, now that Chad had taken me. It was familiarity that brought contempt as well as good relationships, but I thought I was ready to take him on, regardless of how it would end up. I had studied this man during the few weeks I'd been assigned to him at Wounded Inked. I had to learn to read people, just like a lawyer would a juror. I had to know if Chad was a risk worth taking on. The risk I meant was, would I fall in love with him where I couldn't walk away if we didn't make it? I'd always been a risk taker. I had risked a job I knew would help me pay for college, and I had fucked that up by fucking with the boss, namely Brian. I didn't take the time to do my research and realize that Brian was deeply in love with Valentine. Now I was risking my feelings, my livelihood on a man that had been for all purposes straight and somewhat in the closet. Now was he willing to step outside that closet and say that he wanted me around him, not just as a friend and employer, but as a person he could develop a personal relationship with? I meant what I said to you. I want you with me. Living with me. The question is, can you handle that? I knew I could handle anything with Chad, because he was everything I wasn't.